Welcome to Criminologist. Today we delve into two chilling cases that shocked their communities and left a lasting impact on crime history. The murder of Marlene Warren. On May 26, 1990, 40-year-old Marlene Warren was having breakfast with her son in her home in West Palm Beach, Florida. Marlene, along with her husband and son, lived in an exclusive aeronautical community called the Wellington Aero Club. Around 10:45 a.m., Marlene heard a knock on the door. She got up and opened the door to find a person dressed in a clown costume standing in front of her. The clown was wearing an orange wig, a red bulb nose, and had his face painted white. The clown was holding two balloons and a bouquet of red and white flowers. One of the balloons read, "You're the greatest." The clown handed Marlene the flowers and the balloon. "Oh, how pretty," Marlene said as she accepted the gifts. The clown then pulled out a gun and shot her once, point blank in the face, with either a .38 caliber or 35-7 caliber revolver. Marlene fell to the ground and her son ran towards her and looked the clown in the eye. He remembers the clown having deep brown eyes. The clown then calmly walked to a Chrysler LeBaron that was parked in front of the home and drove away. The car did not have a license plate number. Marlene was taken to the hospital but died 2 days later. During their investigation, police found out that Marlene and her husband, Michael Warren, had been having relationship problems and had been arguing. The couple had been married for 20 years and had owned a few businesses, including a used car dealership that Michael managed and rental properties worth upwards of $1 million that were managed by Marlene. Police immediately suspected her husband, Michael, as he was the one who would have benefited most from Marlene's death. The couple's businesses and properties were under Marlene's name, and police believed her husband wanted her out of the picture so that he could inherit their fortune. 4 days after the murder, the police found the Chrysler LeBaron used by the clown. It was parked in a Winn-Dixie parking lot at Okeechobee and Royal Palm Beach Boulevards. Police did not locate much evidence inside the car. Neither the costume nor the gun were present. However, they did find strands of orange hair inside the vehicle, which they collected for future testing. Soon, police received a tip that they should look into a woman named Sheila Keen. Sheila Keen was a 27-year-old woman who did car repairs for Michael's car dealership. She had recently split up with her husband, and there had been rumors that Michael was having an affair with her. Neighbors of Keen had said that they had seen Michael at Keen's apartment several times. Other employees also told police that the pair frequently took long lunches together, and most notably, Michael had also started paying her rent. However, both Michael and Sheila Keen denied that they were ever romantically involved. Michael had an alibi as he was en route to Calder Racetrack with a few friends on the day of the murder. Police then focused on Sheila Keen. Keen said that on the day of the murder, she was looking for cars to repossess. She denied any involvement in the case. Police soon received a call from a costume shop. They said that a woman had bought a clown costume a few days earlier. The worker at the shop picked Keen from a photo lineup. Police also learned that the flowers and the balloons were sold by a Publix grocery store. Police questioned the employees at the public grocery store, and they confirmed that the same type of balloons and flowers were purchased about 9:22 a.m. on the day of the shooting. The employees confirmed that a woman matching Keen's description had bought the balloons and flowers from the store. The store was located near Keen's apartment. The police searched Keen's apartment and found orange hair strands similar to the ones found in the abandoned car. Despite this, the police did not have enough evidence to make an arrest, and the case would eventually grow cold. Michael Warren was, however, arrested for an unrelated crime. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison on 43 counts of odometer tampering, grand theft, and racketeering. He was released from prison in 1997. Michael and Keen would end up getting married in 2002. They moved to Southwest Virginia, near the Tennessee border, and opened a fast food restaurant. They sold the business in 2016. In 2013, the police started reinvestigating the case. They re-interviewed witnesses and started running DNA tests on the evidence collected years ago. It would take 3 years, but in 2017, the test revealed that the orange hair strands found in LeBaron matched those found in Keen's apartment. They also found matches between her hair and hair found in the car. 27 years after the murder, Sheila Keen was arrested and charged with first-degree homicide. Her trail has been pushed back several times, and the next hearing will take place on December 22, 2022. Michael has not been charged with Marlene murder, but he has not been ruled out as a suspect either. Edward Paisnel. During the late 1950s through early 1970s, a serial rapist would haunt the residents of the island of Jersey. He called himself the Beast of Jersey and would stalk and rape at least 13 people in his reign of terror, which lasted for 14 years. The island of Jersey is a part of an archipelago called the Channel Islands, situated between France and England in the English Channel. The island is about 9 miles long and 5 miles wide, with a population of about 57,000 people in the 1950s. The terror began in November 1957, when a young woman waiting for a bus in the Monte Bay area was dragged into a field by a man. The man was wearing a scarf over his head and hit the woman from behind before tying a rope around her neck, dragging her to a nearby field and raping her. He fled the scene, leaving the woman at the scene of the crime. Fortunately, the woman was found and taken to the hospital. The man would attack again in March of 1958, targeting a 20-year-old woman who was walking home from a bus stop. He used the same modus operandi, tying the rope around the woman's neck and dragging her to a field before raping her. He would prey on women exclusively near the bus stop between 1957 and 1959. In July 1958, he attacked a 31-year-old and then a 28-year-old in October 1959. All the victims described the attacker as having a musty stench. In 1960, he upped his ante and began breaking into houses and assaulting people in their homes. On Valentine's Day in 1960, the man broke into a house in St. Savior. A 12-year-old woke up to find a man with a mask standing in his bedroom. He put a rope around the boy's neck and took him outside to a field, where he sexually assaulted him. In March 1960, a 26-year-old woman was waiting for her bus in St. Brelade when she accepted a lift from a man who claimed to be a doctor on his way to pick up his wife. Once inside the car, the man attacked her, tied her up, and blindfolded her. He then drove to a nearby field where he raped her. The man then took her back to the car, but she managed to escape and found a couple living nearby. While police were called, the attacker had already fled. Later that month, the man broke into a remote cottage in St. Martin's. A 43-year-old woman was sleeping when she heard a noise. She turned on the lights and went downstairs to investigate. As soon as she reached the bottom of the stairs, the lights abruptly turned off, and she heard someone moving about in the living room. She picked up the nearby phone and tried calling the police, but the line was dead. The phone line had been cut. The man immediately ran after her, demanding money and threatening to kill her. Hearing the commotion, the woman's 14-year-old daughter opened her bedroom door to see what was going on. The woman was able to escape his clutches and told her daughter to lock herself in her room. The woman ran to the nearby farmhouse and raised the alarm. When she returned, the intruder had left, but he had raped her daughter in the meantime. In April, he broke into a 14-year-old girl's bedroom. The girl woke up and found the man in a mask watching her as she slept. The girl screamed so loudly that he ran away without attacking her. In July, an 8-year-old boy would be abducted from his home and taken to a field where he sexually assaulted. The attacker then took the boy back to his home and left him at the doorstep. He would attack 3 more children in 1961. All of them were abducted from their homes and taken to a field where they were raped. The Beast of Jersey had been active for more than 3 years now, but the police had no leads or suspects. They interviewed all males with criminal histories and even had every male on the island give their fingerprints. However, 13 of them refused to give their fingerprints. It would later be found that one of them was the attacker. The victims had described the attacker as being 5 feet 6 inches tall, about 40 years old, wearing either a mask or a scarf and a long coat. All of the victims said the attacker had a musty smell and spoke in a strange Irish accent. He would attack between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. He would break into homes through a window and use a torch. Soon the police found a break in the case. A local man named Alphonse Le Gastelois was arrested on suspicion of the attacks and rapes. The police did not have any evidence against him, except that he was a known creep and prior criminal. He was a loner and would go on late-night walks. He also owned a raincoat. The man was questioned for 14 hours but released due to lack of evidence. However, the damage was done. His face was plastered across newspapers, and as a result, his house was burned down by vigilantes. Alphonse had to leave the island forever. With no leads or suspects, the police decided to seek help from the Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard urged people to look out for each other and set up neighbors' watches. The Beast of Jersey would then stop for 2 years and reappeared in 1963. In April 1963, the Beast would strike again when he abducted a 9-year-old boy and took him to a field where he sodomized him. He went on to rape 3 more children before disappearing again for 2 years in 1964. 2 years later, the police received an anonymous letter, seemingly from the Beast of Jersey. The letter said, "My dear sir, I think that it is just the time to tell you that you are just wasting your time, as every time I have done what I always intended to do. And remember, it will not stop at this, but I will be fair to you and give you a chance. I have never had much out of this life, but I intend to get everything I can now. I have always wanted to do the perfect crime. I have done this, but this time let the moon shine very brightly in September, because this time it must be perfect. Not 1, but 2. I am not a maniac by a long shot, but I like to play with you people. You will hear from me before September, and I will give you all the clues, just to see if you can catch me. Yours very sincerely, wait and see." In August, a 15-year-old girl would be abducted and raped. However, this time the crime was a little different. The girl had suffered long scratches on her body that were perfectly dispersed in parallel lines. The attacks would stop after this for 4 years. The Beast would return in August 1970. A 14-year-old would be abducted from his home and raped. The boy told police the attacker was wearing a mask. Fortunately, this would be the last attack, and the Beast would never don the mask again. On July 10, 1970, 2 police officers were on patrol in the St. Helier at around 11:45 p.m. when a car ran a red light in front of them. The car was rather driven erratically, so the officers gave it a chase. The driver drove to the wrong side of the road, sideswiped other cars onto the footpath, and eventually hit a hedge and stopped in a tomato field. The driver tried to flee, but since the officers were from Europe, they rugby tackled and arrested him. He was taken to the police station. Under the light of the police office, the police got a good look at the man and realized this was no ordinary reckless driver. The man had been wearing a long dark coat with 1-inch long nails and screws sticking out of the collar, cuffs, and shoulders. The long coat had a musty smell to it. The man's trousers were old and had been tucked in his socks. Inside his pockets, police found 2 pieces of cord, a woolen cap, empty cigarette packets, a roll of adhesive tape, and a flashlight, which had tape covering most of the bulb so that it gave off a controlled thin beam of light. Inside his car, police found a spiky black hair wig and a mask. He had tape marks on his face which matched the tape on the mask, suggesting he had been wearing it recently. The man was identified as Edward Paisnel. When the police questioned him, he claimed he was on his way to an orgy and said he had nails through his clothing in case someone at the orgy knew martial arts. During a search of his house, police found a secret, smelly room filled with old clothing and homemade wigs. They also found photographs of local properties, a sword and an altar covered with books on occult and black magic. Edward Paisnel was born in 1925. During his teenage years, he was imprisoned for stealing food to give to starving families. He did not have any other criminal history. He worked as a construction worker and had a wife and children. His wife, Joan, said he had once dressed up as a Santa Claus and visited her foster home for children to spread holiday cheer. The kids called him Uncle Ted. His wife said she was unaware of his actions throughout the marriage. She also said that Paisnel had a low sex drive and that the couple pretty much lived separate lives. Paisnel also had a mistress at the time of his arrest. On the 29th of November 1971, Paisnel was put on trial. It took the jury only 38 minutes to find him guilty of 13 counts of rape, sexual assault, and sodomy against 6 of his victims. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Paisnel was released from prison for good behavior in 1991. He died a free man in 1994. If you found these cases intriguing, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the world of criminology.